Okay, YouTube. Today we're gonna do a very touchy subject. We're gonna do record versus record. Ronald Reagan versus Barack Obama. Now, this is gonna be more of a touchy subject than most, but I'm just gonna run down the list of what each president has done to solidify their legacy as president of the United States of America. I'm doing this because a lot of the GOP here lately has been just really giving Ronald Reagan the utmost praise as to his record, Reaganomics, and to what he has contributed to this country. So I just kind of want to shed some light on some of the facts, some of the things that he did accomplish, some of the things he did not, and some of the things that a lot of people don't know. If you were born, say, you're 23 years old and you were born in the 90s, or you're 30, you were born in the mid 80s, so we want to kind of give you some of the insight on who Ronald Reagan was, so versus who Barack Obama is. So this is not to vet, Republicans versus Democrats. We're not going to do that today. But what we are going to do is give you a record versus record comparison. So let's start by Reagan. I know we are always concerned about taxes and this, that, and other. Did you know that taxes in regards to Ronald Reagan, he was a serial tax raiser. As governor of California, Ronald Reagan signed into law the largest tax increase in the history of any state up until then. You know, state spending nearly doubled. As president, Ronald Reagan raised taxes 7 times. Well, actually, seven of the 8 years he was in office. That's including 4 times in just 2 years. As a former GOP Senator Alan Simpson, who called Reagan a dear friend, told the NPR, Ronald Reagan raised taxes 11 times in his administration. He admitted he was there. End quote. Ronald Reagan never failed to raise taxes. I mean, he was never afraid, I should say, to raise taxes. So I know we talk about big spending and taxes and this, that, and the other, but Ronald Reagan, check mark for him as a tax raiser. Let's talk about the deficit. Ronald Reagan actually nearly tripled the federal budget deficit. Somebody's eyebrow just raised when I said that. But you can do your own research and find the facts for yourself. When I said, I'm going to repeat what I said. Ronald Reagan nearly tripled the federal budget deficit. During the Reagan years, the debt increased nearly $3 trillion, roughly 3 times as much as the first 80 years of the century had done altogether. Reagan enacted a major tax cut his first year in office, and government revenue dropped off severely. Now, despite the conservative myth that tax cuts somehow increased revenue, the government went deeper into debt, and Reagan had to raise taxes just a year after he enacted his tax cut. Tax cut. Sounds like that wasn't a very big success. Despite 10 more tax hikes, everything from gasoline to corporate income, Reagan was never able to get the deficit under control again. Wow. So the deficit nearly tripled. Well, about we went in an additional $3 trillion. He was never able to get it under control through his 8 years. We off to a bad start already. Can we commit to that? I think we can. Now, I know our previous president, we talked about, or our current president, we talked about unemployment a lot. Let's see what Ronald Reagan had on unemployment. Unemployment soared after Ronald Reagan's 1981 tax cut. Unemployment jumped to 10.8% after Reagan reenacted his much talked tax cut. And it took years for the rate to get back down to its previous level. Meanwhile, income inequality exploded. That means the haves versus the have-nots. The separation got even bigger between the two. You know what I mean? Despite the myth that Ronald Reagan presided over an era of unmatched economic boom for all Americans, Reagan disproportionately taxed the poor and middle class, but the economic growth in the 1980s did little to help either one of them. So the middle class and the poor suffered dearly during the Reagan administration. This is the truth now. So if you felt that you were in the middle class or you were poor, you bear the burden for this country. But again, we digress. Let's talk about something else. Let's move on. Let's talk about something that a lot of people may not know or may know. I'm gonna bring up an old subject. Let's talk about Iran in regards to Ronald Reagan. Reagan illegally funneled weapons to Iran. Ooh, he illegally funneled weapons to Iran? Well, who was Iran in the 1980s? Let me tell you. Reagan and other senior U.S. officials secretly sold arms to officials in Iran, which was subject to an arms embargo at the time, in exchange for American hostages. Huh. Now this is a country that doesn't, negotiate with terrorists. So if you have hostages, and we're not even at wartime, you have hostages, but we'll give you some guns, so you can fight somebody else if you give those back. We're negotiating. You got a president that couldn't make it happen without giving more than he was getting. But I digress. We could have easily sent some SEALs in or did something else to try to get this under control, but we didn't do that. We did not do that, and now I'm disappointed to know that this is why that happened. Sometimes something that Congress had already prohibited the administration from doing is something that he did. When the details or when the deals went public, the Iran-Contra affair, as it came to be known, was an enormous political scandal that forced several senior administrative officials to resign. Wow, Ronald Reagan never had to resign. This is a scandal within your own borders. We're yet to have a scandal per se for our current president, President Barack Obama. But again, we're dealing with the GOP's messiah in Ronald Reagan. But we don't talk about these. And I mean, that's something that we need to talk about. And I'm going to give you something right now, and I'm going to give Ronald Reagan a break and get off of him after I say this. But Ronald Reagan, you do your own research if you disagree, helped to create the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. I'm going to pause and give you an opportunity to listen to that in your own head. And I'm going to say it again while we do. Ronald Reagan helped to create the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Reagan fought a proxy war with the Soviet Union by training, arming, and equipping, and funding the Islamic Mujahideen fighters in Afghanistan. Reagan funneled billions of dollars, along with top secret intelligence and sophisticated weaponry, to these fighters through the Palestinian intelligence services. The Taliban and Osama bin Laden, a prominent Mujahideen commander, emerged from the Mujahideen groups Reagan helped to create, and U.S. policies toward Pakistan remained strained because of the intelligence services' closely relations to the fighters. And in fact, Reagan his decision to continue the proxy war after the Soviets were willing to retreat played a direct role in Osama bin Laden's current status within that country, or later status in that country. We're talking about facts, everybody. We're talking about facts. We gotta call a dog, and a duck. So, but hey, let's talk about your current president, Barack Obama. Just giving a comparison in regards to some of the things that Barack Obama did versus your the GOP messiah, President Ronald Reagan. He ended the Iraq War, ordered all military forces out of the country. The last troops left on December 18, 2011. This is something we all know. As a terrorist during the Bush administration, and I'll be doing another segment, President Barack Obama versus President Bush, and you'll see. But President Barack Obama eliminated. In 2011, ordered special forces raid of secret compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, in which the terrorist leader was killed. And Trove Al Qaeda documents were discovered. This was a big wheel. He was a big guy, you know. But this president led, and he actually made it part of his campaign that he was going to see to the destruction of Osama bin Laden, and he held himself accountable for that, and this took place. But we don't talk about that very much. Some other things that Barack Obama did: passed the um, Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. After five presidents over a century failed to create universal health insurance, signed the Affordable Care Act in 2010. Now, it will cover 32 million uninsured Americans beginning in 2014, and mandates a suite of experimental measures to cut healthcare costs and growth. Now, the number one cause of America's long-term fiscal problem has been healthcare. I mean, you have people that, the haves said, well, no, I don't want to pay for anyone to have health care. Let them get up and get it themselves. If they're freaking sick, they're just sick. Get over it, get a job. Yeah, you say that, but there are people that need this assistance. If you are unwilling to help your fellow neighbor, how could you call yourself an American? I really can't put American on you. I can't really say that you're a patriot. I mean, you're actually a traitor at that point to your people, to your countrymen, to people who actually help pay your taxes, that help place you in office. Your constituents need that assistance. Now you say, well, no, I'm not going to pay for something for someone else to have. That's not true either. If you have a job in this country, you pay into Social Security, and if you pay into Social Security, you pay for something that you may never even receive for someone else that's ahead of you to reap the benefits for. So what are we talking about here, people? But I digress. Now, what else did President Barack Obama do? Of course, we went through a big time recession, and it was due to Wall Street and the housing market. What did Barack Obama do? He passed the Wall Street reform, signed the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010 to re-regulate the financial sector after its practices caused the Great Recession. The new law tightened capital requirements on large banks and other financial institutions, requiring derivatives to be sold to clearing houses, and exchange mandates that large banks provide living wills to avoid the chaotic bankruptcies, limited the ability to grow and consumers' money for their own profits. Banks were getting rich, getting rich, getting rich. Then when the bubble burst, the country was going to be in turmoil, and if the president didn't authorize a bailout, we would be in soup lines, soup kitchens, begging for bread. You could really call that a SHTF type situation. But you had a president that saw the bigger picture. Some people say, well, don't bail out the banks. Why? What if we don't? What is too big to fail? You know what? They were at the time. They were actually so big that those losses would have crippled the entire country. Yes, this is true. And if any of you understand and know politics, you can see and say that, yeah, pretty boy prep. I can understand that. I hear that. And on top of this also was being affected. Barack Obama, he turned around the U.S. auto industry in 2009. He injected $62 billion in federal money. Okay, $62 billion into an ailing GMC and Chrysler in return for equity stakes in an agreement for massive reconstruction. So what he did was he said, well, I'll give you this money. The government will give you this money, but we're going to take we're gonna take a payback on it. We're gonna get paid back, and we're gonna make sure we have a little collateral in this. So the American people never even lost in this deal. You know, this is just some of the facts, people. I mean, people thought that the cash were clunkers and all those things. These were things to try to help generate money in our economy. To not let the auto industry fail. We even had companies that still they stopped making certain vehicles. You no longer see Pontiacs anymore and Saturns anymore because those companies really were mismanaging money. And now on top of that, they were making vehicles that were not conducive to our economy and our increasing fuel prices. But I digress. I mean, we're just talking about what we're talking about, people. Just talk about what we're talking about and how this president helped to increase, you know, our economy, help build up our economy. And when he took office at a time where unemployment was through the roof. It's 2015. Um, Unemployment is around like 5%, in the range of 5%. That's a big decrease from where it was like 8 or 9% when he took office. But again, I digress. I mean, this is what we're talking about, people. I mean, we're giving you an opportunity to see what your current president has done, his record versus the GOP messiah, Ronald Reagan. We're taking a look at their records, and before I let you go, I want to give you a look at his foreign policy. A lot of people, we know about the Osama bin Laden, but who knows that he toppled over Muammar Gaddafi? Oh yes, this was another dictator that had to come down after all these other. I mean, he had led for 40 plus years. Return Libya back to the people. Listen to this. In March 2011, he joined a coalition of European and Arab governments in military action, including air power and naval brigades, against Gaddafi's regime to defend Libya's citizens and support rebel troops. Gaddafi's 42-year rule ended when the dictator was overthrown and killed by the rebels on October 20th, 2011, and absolutely no American lives were lost. Wow. Is this the same president that they give such a hard time to? I mean, is he that bad or is he that black? And I threw that black part in there because I wanted to really just ask yourself: is he that bad or is he just that black? I mean, we're all entitled to our opinion. We're all entitled to make and judge for ourselves, and by all means, I want you to do so. That's why we open the discussion because I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I am for the candidate that actually is for me. Now, do I think the majority of candidates lie? Yeah, I do. But I do need the one that tells me the best lie. So I'm going to take the lesser of two evils when I'm looking to select a representative for me. So I'm not necessarily a Reaganite or an Obamanite or whatever you want to call them, but people just take a look at the facts. Judge for yourself versus allowing your media to judge for you. Before you allow Fox News or MSNBC to make up your mind for you, seek out the facts. And I've got more facts. I'm going to do a part two on this coming up real soon. If you like to know who else, what other presidents between Reagan and Obama that you like to see, yeah, let me know. I mean, you got two Bushes in there, you got a Clinton in there. If you got one of those guys you want to match up records, yeah, let's do it. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a Clinton in the comment, and if so, by all means, I'd be happy to share those record versus record, and we can get the conversation started. But everybody, judge for yourselves. Do not allow the media to judge for you, tell you what you need to believe, because if they make up their mind for you, then you have only become a puppet to the media. Again, remember the Second Amendment. Stay on top of it. Contact your local congressmen and legislative members. Let them know that you support the Second Amendment. I know this is kind of off topic, but I want to make sure I threw it in here anyway. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. So remember that. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. If you have any questions about it, you got some comments about it, please leave them in the comment box. We can discuss it. There's no right nor wrong. This is Pretty Boy Prepper, and I'm out. All right, real quick, I didn't want to forget, let you know that if you would, please like, share, and subscribe. This Pretty Boy Prepper, we're out.